Jerry and Esther had the delightful experience a few weeks ago of going whitewater rafting on a wonderful river in Colorado. It was a very fast-moving river. It was classed as 4 rapids, so it was a really moving river. And as they were approaching the river, as they were driving alongside the river in the bus with all of the others, with the boats on top, up the canyon, Jerry and Esther looked at this river and said to one another more than once, "We must be out of our minds." It was a raging river. The water was spiking so high over some of the big boulders and around the bridges and such. And as they put their raft into the water, they were with friends. 6 of them went together, and then there were many other rafts that were with the same river company who were all high school wrestling teams. Their friend who had invited him on this trip, her daughter said to him as he left the house that morning, "Did you tell them how old you all are?" As they put their boat into the water, it was evident to them right away that there was no value whatsoever in attempting to paddle upstream. It did not even enter their minds, because they could see that that river was going to have its way with them. And the man who was teaching them what to do, who was the guide in their raft, said to them, "Friends, this is not Disneyland, and we cannot turn this river off." And the reason that he was telling them that is because he knows the power of the river. He knows the force of the river. He pointed out these big rock pilings, and he said to them, "We don't want our raft to get wedged in those rocks, because if that happens, the river will just beat us up." And then he called them to page 5, paragraph 3 of the disclaimer they had signed that made it absolutely obvious that the likelihood of their survival was almost none. Esther refused to read it. She read the first paragraph and said, "I take your word for it." The reason that we are giving this to you in this way is because we want you to understand that your river is like that. You can't turn it off. Your river was flowing before you even came forth into this physical body, and the longer you live, the faster it flows. Because every time you live an experience, you ask for something more, and every time you ask for something more, source becomes it, the source part of you. And every time the source part of you becomes it, law of attraction responds to it. And every time law of attraction responds to the you that is in the process of becoming, your stream moves faster. So do you know that you could have the same negative thoughts that you developed when you were 4 or 5 or 10 or 15 or 20? You could have the same negative attitude about something. It doesn't need to have changed at all. But 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years later, that negative attitude that hasn't changed at all is taking a much greater toll on you because your stream's moving faster. And law of attraction says it can't stand still, it is changing. So if you've been beating the drum of something that you don't want, then that vibration within you is getting stronger and stronger. At the same time, your asking is getting stronger and stronger. So do you see what you're doing? You're causing your stream to go faster on that example, and you are also refusing to go with the stream. That's what negative emotion is. That's what negative sensation is. That's what dis-ease is. Even children who get sick are experiencing sickness because their life is causing them to want something that they don't believe they can have. In other words, when you have that powerless, out of control feeling and something really matters to you, and you have a belief that says, "I can't get what I want to get," you put yourself in this impossible position because there is a tug of war going on within you energy-wise that does not serve you well. Now the good news is, doesn't matter where you are, at any point you can turn and go with the flow. At any point. In fact, do you know, you don't even have to turn and go with the flow. Just let go of the oars. The stream will turn you. Sometimes you listen to us as we crow about all of these good feeling emotions, appreciation and love and joy and passion and all of that good feeling stuff up here. And it makes you think that under all conditions and at all costs, you should turn your boat around, put a motor on it, and get down there to the good feeling emotion as fast as you can. And we say, We want you to get down there where it feels better and better, but because we know the power of the stream, we are not urgent feeling about your getting down there. We know if you'll just stop doing that thing you do that's got you pointed against the current, that the current will turn you and take you. We also know that you don't have a choice. You can't be up here because something has happened. Something's happened to someone you love, or something's happening in your own life experience. You want something, you can't figure out how to get it. You're depressed or feeling enraged or angry or any negative emotion, doesn't matter what you call it, fear. You can't, in your state of negative emotion, all of a sudden just turn your boat around and speed right down there to where it feels good. You can't do that. And you don't have to do that. All you have to do is stop paddling upstream, and the stream will carry you. It's really about, and here it is, making peace with where you are. A lot of times our physical friends feel funny about that when they say, but I'm clearly not where I want to be, and if I make peace with where I am, isn't that my saying to the universe, let me stay here? And we say, no. When you make peace with where you are, you stop resistance, and then you can really go to where you want to be, you see. So in very short terms, we would say to you, if we were to give you an unfair label that accurately depicts the energy of your being, you try too hard. You work too hard at things. And it comes from wanting to please others. It comes from having a lot of responsibilities. It comes from a lot of people counting on you. It comes from all of those things, but it doesn't serve you. And it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve anyone. So just let your mantra be, I'm doing fine. Everything's all right. Words, in the same way that you would soothe anyone, soothe yourself. It's all right. I'm doing just fine. No big thing here. Jerry and Esther have a dear friend who says, there's nothing serious going on here. No matter what, there's nothing serious going on here. Just anything that diffuses. And in a little while, you will feel that visceral shifting. You will feel, even though you don't see solution, you don't see immediate result, you don't have an instant answer to a question, you'll feel the turning in the stream. And when that is what you're reaching for, things become so easy.
Well, in that, I also realized that I visualized myself as a really fun person. But when you said, well, write down the things that you really enjoy or that feel fun to you, I was reaching. I'm going, wow. I couldn't figure out what they were. It took me a long time. So between that and relaxing, I lay in bed and do the breathing, and in fact, I've had 2 massages, and he said, I can feel your mind just going woo like this. And I'm like, I really want to relax. And I'm not, is it because I'm trying to keep figuring things out?
It
and
is.
How do you let go of it?
Oh, you're excited about this, and that's all right. You just do it one thought at a time. That's why we give you this redundant story of letting go of the oars. It's just, Esther played with it in lots of different ways. She found that if she would sit and count her breathing, it would slow her mind down. She found if she would listen for a sound in a room, here she would listen for the sound of that air, and in the sound of the air, can you hear that sort of drumbeat that's behind it? Mm-hmm. So she would isolate in her mind some sound that she was picking out of her environment, and she would try to separate it from all the other sounds, which made her mind slow down. And then in time, once she began working with the computer equipment, she saw that little pause sign, the 2 little slashes that mean pause, and she would focus on it, and she would think, I'm going to put my brain on pause. And then she would think, I'm thinking about putting my brain on pause. But thinking about putting her brain on pause is far different than thinking about how to save the rainforest or thinking about how to solve someone's dilemma. In other words, so you're looking for less stimulating thoughts. That's all you're looking for. You're just looking for a way to give yourself a sensation of relief, and not always just at the time that you're looking for that. You're wanting to show yourself that you have the ability to focus. That's all it is. So you are very receptive to energy. Even the fact that you're receiving blocks of thought, you're receptive to energy, which means we imagine bookstores drive you pretty much insane. In other words, when you walk into an environment where there's a lot of energy and you're picking up on all of it, it can feel very chaotic, and you wouldn't feel any ease until you actually focus on something. And so the exercise of focusing your mind will stop that scattered sort of feeling. The exercise, there's someone now. the
Put them on pause.
the exercise of quieting your mind is only an exercise of focus. That's all it is. And which sounds sort of opposite, doesn't it? Because it sounds like what we're saying is, don't think about anything. And then we say, and to quiet your mind, think about something. And what we're saying is, as you think about something, it quiets your mind from all of those other things that you're thinking about. Here's an example. Have you